Well, hi again, everybody. Welcome to another episode of 100 Yards of Football. Co-host and the founder of 100 Yards of Football is Vincent Turner. I graciously am in his presence. Harper LeBel, great to be with you, everybody. Thanks for being a part of the show. Today, we're going to look at Week 10 in the NCAA college football scheduling. A lot of big games, Vincent. You picked a few that are of very keen interest to me. There's one in particular that I don't know if I'm going to spend any time watching this one, but that's just the way it goes. You've got mostly top-ranked teams, top 10 all over the place, some in the top 25, but certainly a couple of games that could be keys to whether or not a team or a school is able to make it into the playoff or not, depending on how they go this weekend. So even though there's about 4 more weeks left to go in the season, with the bye weeks being considered in a part of that, most teams have played 9, 10 games, and there's 12 on the schedule. But Vincent, this is where it starts to really matter. There's no availability in many of the teams that we're going to talk about. There's no room for mistakes.
Well, one thing about college football that I think we've seen over the last couple of weeks is that coaches get fired if they don't meet expectations. So I'm just going to call from here on out every show we do elimination, elimination,
Yeah.
and hopefully you don't lose your job behind it. Back to you, Hawk.
Well, there's been some big schools that have lost their coach or at least terminated, depending on how you want to look at it. They've moved on, as many will say. We're going in a different direction, but we're going to look at a couple of games here. And some of them have a little bit of a historic value to it. Let's start with the first one this weekend. Vincent, you wanted to look at the University of Georgia going down to Jacksonville and playing Florida, a neutral site game, the biggest cocktail party in the world. I think this is going to be one of those games that Georgia is going to be glad that they have on the schedule. Florida, after firing their coach, and Billy Napier, who you've been talking about for weeks, maybe losing his job. With Florida going into this ball game, for obvious reasons, they're struggling. They're 3-4. They're 2-2 in the SEC. They've got LSU, Miami, Texas, Georgia, Ole Miss, and Tennessee back to back on their schedules. And so 6-1 Georgia Bulldogs. Their only loss was to Alabama. That they're 4-1. Big win for the Bulldogs against Mississippi. But Gunnar Stockton, tell me what you think Gunnar needs to do for this team to be able to continue the role that they have and to get themselves in the SEC championship game.
Obviously, he surprised me so far this season, the ability to throw the football. That was my biggest question coming into the season with Georgia. Could he make it happen in the passing game? Well, he got 1,553 yards on the year, 10 touchdowns. I believe he had 1 interception and played real well against Ole Miss throwing the football, especially to the tight end. So I want to give kudos to Gunnar Stockton. Now, a lot of Georgia faithful say he should be up for the Heisman votes. I don't know about that, but he's played pretty good football. And really, Georgia is just keep moving the machine. They just cannot lose this football game. And when I think about this game, as I give it back to you, Hawk, we got to give kudos to one of our friends, Mr. Buck Bellew. What about that 1980 game? Run, Lindsey, run. Back to you, Hawk.
Yeah. Are you serious? Is somebody saying that Gunnar Stockton, is that just a person that only sees the world in red and black Georgia Bulldog colors, that he should be the Heisman Trophy winner? Maybe if they run the table and he throws for, what's he got, 1,500 yards? I know there's some other quarterbacks out there that already have more than 2,000. He's got 10 touchdowns, 1 interception. Great ratio. I love it. But only 10? Tell me how anyone can justify that.
No, Harp, they said he should be in New York and get Heisman votes.
Okay.
Not win the Heisman Trophy,
Okay.
but they say he should be up for consideration to get Heisman votes. Now, that's what some of the Georgia faithful told me, and I've heard on other shows.
Okay.
Back to you, Harp.
Yeah, but I've got no problem with you just saying it because you love the Bulldogs and you think every year there should be a Heisman Trophy that has a Bulldogs name on it. I get it. There's a difference though. You got to justify it. In 70%, it's great. 10 touchdowns, that's great, but it's not 20. And there's some guys that are out there that are doing it better. Chauncey Bowens is averaging 5.4. He's got 4 touchdowns as a leading rusher. Nate Frazier, leading receiver. I'm sorry, Nate's also a running back. Please forgive me. He's got 2 touchdowns. He's averaging 5.4 yards per rush. They've got 19 touchdowns on the ground. That, I think, is going to be one of the differences. If Florida cannot stop the run game, I think they're in for a long day.
Well, I'm looking at it like this. I'm up Florida. You playing under a new coach. Your coach has been fired. what you really have to lose. And it's a rivalry game. DJ Legways came out and said this week that he's going to be ready to play. What he got? 9 touchdowns, 9 interceptions on the year,
Yep.
1,500 yards. They got a real good talented running back, Jaden Bond, that's got over 611 yards on the ground. So when you look at the whole Florida Gators team, what they really playing for? They're playing for house money, and they playing for honor and respect between the two bordering states, Florida and Georgia. Now Georgia, you got to keep winning because your goal is to get to the college football playoffs. You got that one long loss to the University of Alabama. So I'd be very surprised if Georgia is not ready to play this football game. And most of all, there's a little tidbit that's told to me by some Georgia fans. Kirby Smart hates the Florida Gators. Hates. He was on the field when Steve Spurrier ran the score up over there in Athens back in the mid 90s. He hasn't
Ooh,
forgot that. He was
okay.
on the field playing, so I just want to throw that out there.
Yeah, yeah, that means a lot, and I'm being serious there. If you've got a deep grudge of biblical proportion that you have with one of your rivals, Georgia has 40 touchdowns as a team. Florida has what do they got? 15, 16. Difference defense. Florida has 13 sacks, 6 interceptions, and 3 fumble recoveries. So I think that'll be a real important. If they don't create any turnovers defensively, that's going to make for a longer day for the Gators. And Billy Gonzalez, he's going in playing with house money, in my opinion, Vincent. I think he is. He's just going to, he's buying his time and wants to make this last as long as he can, get a couple of wins. And as I mentioned with their schedule, they've got some big games, important games with Ole Miss and Tennessee still on the slate. Yeah, he can make quite an impression for a job interview. Even if he doesn't stay at Florida, he might be auditioning for another job, if you know what I mean.
You're correct, totally correct. I mean, what's Florida? Like I said, they got a tough remaining schedule. It's a rivalry game. They can spoil Georgia chances in them making the playoffs, which I think is going to be highly doubtful. But I expect the Bulldogs going to be ready to play, man. This is a meaningful football game, and it's just another tale for them to keep going forward to make the college football playoffs. And remember this, a lot of people are telling me, well, Georgia might overlook this game because they got Texas coming to Athens next week. I don't think so. I think Uga and company going to be ready to eat some gator on Saturday up there in Jacksonville.
Gator on Saturday, and then some Bevo later on,
Yes,
and
sir.
then they're going to get the Yellow Jackets, and that's going to be a very interesting game because that's our second one that we're going to talk about here. How about them Jackets? I know a lot of folks don't believe it, but they're 8-0. They're undefeated in the ACC at 5-0. Haynes King, 72% is his completion percentage. He has 1,480 yards, 7 touchdowns. He's only been sacked 4 times. He's only thrown 1 pick. Here's a guy that, if you ask me, who means more to his team, James King might. I'm not putting him in the Heisman Trophy. I'm just saying that when he's on, the Tech Yellow Jacket system rolls a lot more easily and more thoroughly. Malachi Hosley, Eric Rivers, they've all had they have 23 rushing touchdowns and only 9 in the air. I think they're a little off balance in terms of the amount of touchdowns, but you know what? I'm not complaining about 41 TDs so far in the season. Number 8 Tech goes to North Carolina State, who's 4-4 right now. Vincent, give me your thoughts on this one.
North Avenue, downtown Atlanta,
The varsity.
the engineering school.
Yeah.
Since I've been here in my 29 years living in this area, Harper, this is by far the best Georgia Tech team that I've seen up close and personal. And one thing about this Tech team, since I've been here, Georgia Tech has always had good teams, but they get to that one game in the ACC that they slip up and they lose to somebody they don't supposed to lose to.
Right.
And last week beating Syracuse 41-16 let me know this football team is for real. Brent Key, I got to give you love and respect. Now, if I want to tell Georgia Tech anything, you better open up the bank accounts because there's some schools, one down the road in the SEC, War Eagle, is on the prowl. But I got to be honest with you. This is a very serious Georgia Tech team. Very impressive. Last week win over Syracuse. Hey, man, it caught my eyes. You always say, Hawk. This is a serious team, and they got a very good football player at the quarterback position, like you said, Hop Haynes King. A lot of people don't talk about him, but I tell you this, there was one person that said after they lost the first game, he was your former teammate. Deion Sanders said, that young man under center, if he stays healthy, Georgia Tech is going to be a problem. And right now, sitting at 8-0, ranked number 8 in the country, they're a problem. They're a problem in the ACC. Back to you, Harp.
They really are. And the word that you used just a moment ago, I'm going to steal it and I'm going to go, they are impressive. I don't care if you hate Georgia Tech. I don't care if you've never seen them play before. You look at what they're doing right now. They're very impressive. Their defense is
Yes.
good enough to stop some folks. Their offense, it churns. Their run first, run second. They'll throw third if they need to. They don't have to that way, but they're so stinking good right now. They are impressing people, and they're certainly doing that with me. Maybe not with you, maybe not right now, but at 8-0, at this point in the season, it's a great place to be. They've been in other spots that aren't nearly as close, and you mentioned something about their head coach. I think his phone or his agent's phone might be ringing a little bit more than it was because there are some people that are taking notice. Hey, what's that guy doing at Tech? He's tough. He's no nonsense. He probably is a great recruiter because you have to be to get some of the better kids to come to Tech, and he's getting them. He wants to go big with his offense and defensive line, and it's paying dividends. A couple years ago, this is not the same Georgia Tech team, so watch out for what the Yellow Jackets are doing. All right, next game we want to talk about. You know what? Earlier in the year, probably week 1 or 2, this was going to be a highlight game that I think everybody wanted to watch. You go to the middle of Pennsylvania, right there where College Station or College whatever their campus, and I'll be doggone if Ohio State goes in there now with a 3-4 and 0-4 in the Big Ten. 0-4 Penn State. Yes, they've let their coach go. Everybody knows that. But what is Penn State right now playing for other than pride? They've got to keep some kids there. They better start winning some football games.
The bottom line, they better not get run off the field Saturday. That's the first thing. They better play with some pride because looking at Ohio State, we have not even really mentioned Ohio State. And they rank #1 in the country. And they've been taking care of their business very seriously. Balanced football team, NFL talent all over the field. So my word to the Penn State faithful, I hope we don't get ugly real early. Back to you, Harp.
It could. It absolutely could. If Penn State, if Ohio State goes into Beaver Stadium and says to themselves, that's it. We're going to ruin this team. And they do, and they're capable of doing it. Now, Penn State could get their stuff together and play well. But Julian's saying 80% is his completion. Are you kidding me? 9.6 yards every time he throws the ball.
Can I
19
say,
touchdowns, 3 picks. He's only been sacked 3 times. Are you kidding me? That means the offensive line, the running backs, the receivers are getting open, and he's just dinking and dunking and also being able to go deep. He's got a plethora of people to go to. Go ahead, Vincent. I'm sorry.
right now, let's be honest. And be honest, Hopper. If Ty Simpson wasn't having the year he was having at the University of Alabama in Tuscaloosa, Julian Sand would be at the top of the list of winning the Heisman Trophy. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think Ohio State's a better team that won it all last year with him under center. I think he's a better football player than Will Howard. I think he's throwing the ball much more accurate. And think about this. We ain't even talk about Ohio State defense. Allowed 144 yards last week. Now, when you mention Ohio State defense, you mention Caleb Downs. But Caden Curry waited his turn. It might be the best defensive end in the country. They 2 linebackers, Sonny Styles and Avil Reese, NFL talent. To be honest, this is an Ohio State team that's going into the playoffs. Definitely, they're not going to be an 8th seed. This is a team that might repeat, and I hate to say that because I still think the SEC is the best conference, but people in the state of Ohio, this is a real football team. And getting back to Penn State, my final words about this game, I'm going to say it one more time. Don't embarrass yourself on Saturday because you let pretty boy go, James Franklin. So now this is a meaningful game, and you want to try to impress some people to take the job. What I'm hearing out there is a lot of coaches don't want to take the job because of the expectations at Penn State. So how you kill that? You got a football team that better play well on Saturday. Back to you, Hart.
Yeah, well, you got to play well on Saturday no matter who you are or where you are. But when you're going against the #1 team in the country and you're on a little bit of a losing streak that you didn't expect to be on, you got to get it together. If you have to have a players-only meeting or a coaches-only meeting, whatever it takes. But you mentioned something about Ohio State's defense. Yes. Okay, real quick. Is Julian saying, does he get a ticket to New York on Heisman weekend?
Yes, sir.
He gets a ticket, right? You're going to buy him
Yes,
a ticket.
sir.
Yeah,
If
he may not
Ohio,
win it, but you're going to invite him, right?
yes, sir. If they get,
Yeah.
as we expect, if they run the table, beat Michigan, no question about it. Deserve a ticket. I buy a ticket. I buy his ticket.
Well, I expect the downtown club to be able to pay for it, right? They'll reimburse you. But here's one thing about the defense: 21 sacks so far in their 7 games. Um, 4 interceptions, which is and 5 fumble recoveries. So they are getting the ball back. At least once a game, they're averaging a little bit more than that. But they're getting the quarterback, and they're making teams punt, and that's what you got to do at this level in in any important conference game. But they're doing it pretty successfully, and the kicker for Penn State, I guess, is having the best year for right then. Ryan Barker, 26 out of 26 with his extra points, 11 for 12 on his field goals, which isn't bad. That's nice. You might get to play on Sundays because of that. Defense, 14 sacks, 5 interceptions, and 4 fumble recoveries. So the defense is doing okay. They're not getting to the quarterback. They don't have the number 1 guy that's going to be drafted, but got to fix things there with the Nittany Lions. Just got to. All right, next game we want to look at. Let's move on. This is a 7:00 game on ESPN, where South Carolina at 3-5, they're 1-5 in the conference, and they have played. Look at this schedule: Vanderbilt, Missouri, Kentucky, LSU, Oklahoma, Alabama. They've got Mississippi this week, and then they got Texas A&M. Are you kidding me? And they're 3-5, and you wonder why? They go to Ole Miss and 7-1 for the Rebels. They're 4-1 in the conference. That one loss, obviously, is to Georgia. How do they rebound from this, Vincent?
Well, I'm gonna say this. People don't know they've been watching our platform, 100 Yards Football, over the last few weeks, and I want to give a very special thanks and also awards to the gentleman that's in front of me this evening, because he saw Ole Miss play the first game of the year, and he came back and told us, especially me, he said, "You know what? Ole Miss has got some people on the outside that can run, and their quarterback can get them the football." Now, I think Austin Simmons was playing at the time, and right,
Was.
Harp?
Yep.
It wasn't Trinidad Chambliss, excuse me.
Yep.
But I would say this. Ole Miss has really surprised me because, again, their team under Lane Kiffin, they'll come out, win 6, 7 in a row. Then they end up losing to somebody they don't supposed to lose to. That win over Oklahoma was very impressive. And it really, me personally, let me know that Ole Miss was putting a stamp down that they here for real, and they got a team that can challenge for the national championship. Now, Lane Kiffin is the hottest coaching prospect out there, and it's good times down in Oxford right now. Their offense is humming with Trinidad, Chambliss. And when you look at it, I like the people they got on the outside. The young man Deuce Alexander that played here where I live in Douglas County. I told people when he was transferring from Wake Forest, he's a hell of a football player. Harrison Wallace. My
Yep.
man Harper LeBel talked about how highly he were. Kawan Lacey had 78 tough yards last week in Norman. They are a very good super football team that can win it all. Now, it's going to be interesting. Let's say Ole Miss run the table and they get to the championship game. Will Lane still leave for another job? Now, that's my question of the year. Now, getting to South Carolina, they've had offensive line problems.
Yep.
Lenore Sellers has got beaten up this year. So I'm not going to be hard on one of my favorite coaches, Shane Beamer. I think South Carolina's played real well, regardless of the situations, but Lenore Sellers has been a one-man wrecking crew. And when you look at it, South Carolina came in ranked, but we saw what they were going to be after the Vanderbilt game, how they got beat up. But my question to the South Carolina faithful, you can be discouraged and disgruntled. You keep being that for the rest of the year with Shane Beamer. Let him have a past year because you know what? He gonna end up in Virginia Tech where his father was the coach.
Oh
You
man.
better you better treat him with some love and respect because last year look what he got you. And one thing about South Carolina, they lost 5 kids off their defense last year that got drafted in the first 3 rounds of the NFL draft. So I think Shane Beamer should get a pass over there in Columbia. Back to you, Hart.
Well, you said a couple things. Let's start with the offensive line woes. And I know that most schools at this level, especially SEC, you
Hmm.
lose 1 or 2 offensive linemen, and you've got someone else that can fit the bill. And in a lot of places, you've got an All-American. You got a guy that's really, really good backing up because he's young. But if you don't, it exposes a weakness. It's almost as if you want to put the worst player in the field in right field, and then have everybody on the other team just start hitting the ball to right field. You know what I mean? It gets exposed every time. Doesn't have a great glove, can't catch a pop fly, doesn't have a good throwing arm, and you get exposed for that. It just looks like the offensive line, especially. You mentioned a couple things about him. Lenoris Sellers, do you know how many times he's been sacked?
I think 23, correct?
27 times he's been
Okay.
sacked in 8 games. So he's trying to get rid of the ball. He's only got 6 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. I know that number's a little bit low, but they've only got 8 rushing touchdowns. So they're not moving the ball on the ground or in the air. And that's a problem. 14 touchdowns as a team. Um, I think Ole Miss rolls. And you mentioned Lane Kiffin. Lane Kiffin. I know you said that a couple of times where you have to repeat it just in case someone didn't hear you the first time. Here's my question to you. I'm sure Lane's agent right now is getting a couple of calls. And I think one of them is to go up to Penn State. I think one of them is Baton Rouge. I think he's politely declined. But what if he doesn't want to go there? What if the job that he really wants, maybe in the NFL, maybe, but go back to Alabama, and that job isn't available? I think he's going to play his cards right. He's going to get a raise to stay at Ole Miss. And then when another job happens, he'll have a little clause in the contract where if he wants to opt out to go, say, Texas, let's say that's the school of choice. And I'm not saying it is. Or A&M or SC again. Who knows? But he might work something out to where, hey, we don't want to lose you. And Lane goes, okay, you won't. But if my dream job comes available and they want me, that's 2 things that really may not ever happen, and the timing is right, then let me opt out. I think that would be fair for everybody. I don't know if he has that kind of cachet, but especially if they get deep in the playoff this year, and I think they're going to go, I really do. A&M, Alabama, Georgia, and Vanderbilt are all saying, no, we want to go. But Ole Miss is in that conversation, aren't they?
No question about it. And
Yeah,
all I'm going to say is this right now. When I look at all the jobs right now, and it's something you just said, dream job with Lane Kiffin.
yeah,
Could it be Alabama? I doubt it because it look like Kellen DeBoer has really got that program humming and they're going to be a college football playoff team. But I'm going to go on and put it out. I think Lane Kiffin is going to end up at LSU. That's just my gut feeling. I think he's a perfect fit. They got athletes all over the state of Louisiana. And think about this. LSU in the last 30 years has won 3 national championships with 3 different coaches.
yeah, yeah.
Think about that.
Did you see that Ed Orgeron had a quote that goes, "Yeah, I'd be interested." Or Ed's voice is a little bit there. Yeah, I'd be interested. Wouldn't that be something special if nobody else wanted the job and they go, you know what, the best of the rest is Ed Orgeron. Would we want Ed back? I don't think their committee would desire that. I think that would be the last choice because it would be embarrassing for them to have to accept the notion that the best guy that we could get is Ed when we don't get the guy that we want or the other guy that we want. But very interesting. And I think Ed he's great for college football. I don't care what you say. I know he's had some personal issues. Everyone has, but I'm just saying it's a joy watching him coach and the way he tries to teach young boys to be men. I think he did it as good as many would ever attempt to when they tried. So those are my 2 cents. Shall we move on to another game, Vincent? Would that be all right with you?
Yeah, I didn't know you liked Ed Orgeron like that. But hey,
Well,
rumors are he trying to get the Oregon State job. But it's interesting. I think you like Orgeron
Well,
like that.
someone asked him if you would be interested in, the picture of him was wearing a purple LSU shirt. I've just seen what he's done at other institutions, and I think he's a great coordinator. I think he's a great position coach. As a head coach, I'm not so sure if that would work out again. I just know that he's a great recruiter. The kids love him. They work hard for him. They
That's
respect
true.
him. And there are very few people that have that type of combination and that chemistry. So it's an important aspect for me. All right, let's move on. Oklahoma, you were talking about them just a few minutes ago, especially with their defense. They're 6-2. They're 2-2 in the conference, and they're going to Tennessee. They're going to play in Neyland Stadium, who, by the way, the Tennessee Volunteers are 6-2, and they're 2-2. Give me your thoughts here on this one, because I believe this is going to be a loser is eliminated game. They'll go to a bowl game, but they're out of the playoff picture.
You're totally correct, Mr. LeBel. I call it the play out game. Loser goes to the Outback.
Go home.
Bowl.
Yeah, they
Or
go there
either
or the
either
Citrus.
or the citrus. You
Yeah,
correct, sir. Now I'm gonna say this. You playing in Neyland Stadium on Saturday night. A lot of whiskey gonna be in the stands.
you think?
A lot of people gonna come from the hills of Tennessee up there in the Smoky Mountains.
You think?
And I'm gonna start with Oklahoma first. Now,
Okay.
all what we've been hearing all year long was how great their defense was. Brent Venables, John McTeer. McTeer got hurt, but they were still talking about the Sooner Boomer defense. The days of Brian Bosworth, Scott Case, the Salmon brothers. Oh, I got tired of that. I'm just gonna be honest with you. And what happened? Lane Kiffin went in there with Trinidad Chambliss to the tune of 315 yards. Do I have to say anymore? Really, the game should have really not be even would have been close. At least Ole Miss let up in the fourth quarter. So it's going to be interesting to see Oklahoma now come into this game with a lot of pressure on them. McTeer, they say, is still injured. He's not playing at 100%. Xavier Robinson had a nice game running the football last week against Ole Miss. But if Oklahoma loses this game, it's Brent Venables on the hot seat because he did a lot of talking, especially after the Auburn game. See, I got receipts, and that's a lot of Oklahoma fans. I know you watching this video this evening. I know you are. Where's that defense last week? And back to my brothers, the Smoky Mountain brothers. Josh Heupel. To me, this is a game that I want to see you. Can you get Tennessee over the hump? You've had several opportunities. Let me go back a couple of years ago when Tennessee was ranked number one. Went into Athens. You had Malik Hooker, Hendon, whatever the kid name, the quarterback. I can't think of his name right now. And you went in there and got steamrolled by that Georgia team that won the national championship. Then last year, y'all see this young man right here. Me and him got a real nice relationship, but I was talking a lot of noise when they went into Columbus and they got steamrolled. And this gentleman right here sent me a text and said, "Where the orange coats at?" Ohio State went to work. I took a lot of flack for that. This football game right here, this is a coaching game to me with Josh Heupel. And then what happened 2 weeks ago against the University of Alabama? Some of the calls he made in that game, just out from an offensive standpoint, didn't really go well with me, especially at the end of the first half. When you came out in a formation and Joey Aguilar threw a 99-yard interception that went the other way. See, this is a big game for Josh Heupel from a coaching standpoint. If Tennessee loses this football game, start saying Butch Jones too. Back to you, Harper.
Butch Jones too. Wow, that's clear. No, I'm okay with it. I'm okay. I didn't know you were going to go there on that. All right, let me look at Oklahoma first of all. So they're 6-2. This is on their schedule now. And every Boomer Sooner out there knows we've played Texas, South Carolina, Ole Miss. This is our game against Tennessee. And we still have yet to play Bama, Missouri, and LSU. Are you kidding me? Mateer is 63%, 8 touchdowns. He's been hurt, but sacked 13 times. He can't move. Okay. That's going to be an issue for him. Defense, 29 sacks. That's the highest I've seen so far. 3 interceptions, 1 fumble recovery. So they don't have a whole lot of turnovers, even though they get to the quarterback. Tennessee has 27 sacks defensively, 5 interceptions, 9 fumble recoveries. So the difference between the two is at least once a game, Tennessee's getting the ball back. At least once a game, and that's pretty good. Offensively, Joey Aguilar's having a great season, 18 touchdowns for him. They've got 23 touchdowns on the ground and 20 in the air. They've scored 43 touchdowns this season. There are a lot of schools that haven't even had 40. And they're 8 games into the season. So I think Tennessee at home, Oklahoma, you better bring it. This is not going to be an easy. This is an upset to me because you look at the numbers and you shouldn't beat this team. Not ranked number 14 in the country the way that they are. Yes, you're number 18, but I'm telling you, this is a big game. Give me a final thought before we move on for this. I have a lot of stats and all this other kind of stuff, but I'm just saying there are some impressive numbers that Tennessee has to say, we're at home, we're going to win this game, and Smokey is going to be singing Rocky Top all night long, and we're not going to be singing Boomer Sooner at all.
It's a huge, to me personally, it's a huge coaching game. You got one team, Tennessee, that I think really, if we go and look back, should have won the Georgia game. Let that game get away because of coaching. Then you're looking at Oklahoma. Man. Well, everybody talking about Oklahoma. We was hot on Oklahoma at the beginning of the year. We were saying, oh man, the days of OU is coming back. The days of Barry Switzer. They got the best defense in the country. The memory tells me right. Trinidad Chambers proved y'all to be liars over there in Boomer Sooner. So when this game comes down, that's what did we say originally? Play out game, elimination. The loser is either going to be at the Outback Bowl or the Citrus Bowl. Plain and simple. But the
Mhm.
goal is to get to the college football playoffs and play for the national championship. Back to you, Harp.
The winner goes the prize. The speed of Mississippi was very impressive to me when I saw it, and I
Mm.
think the speed of Mississippi against Oklahoma was also impressive to every Sooner out there. I think so. You said it was a whitewash of just points being scored and touchdowns, everything. Let me ask you this: can you remember a time in your extensive 64-year-old history of college sports when Oklahoma has played at Tennessee? Is this a first, or at least the first in quite a while?
No, they played a couple of years ago when Baker Mayfield was the quarterback. I think they played, I think, want to say his senior year, and Oklahoma won that game very close. And then a couple of years ago, um, Tennessee went up there and beat Oklahoma. I think last year in the opening game, won the opening games and won it very easily.
No. In Neyland, for me, I can remember some big games and all that.
Baker,
I
Baker,
remember Notre Dame. I can see Florida State. I can see a whole host of other teams that have played in Neyland Stadium. But I just personally, I don't remember many times when you mentioned the Baker. Okay, I forgot about that one. But I'm just saying,
yeah, that was
that's not a regular situation. The teams don't play each other very much.
no, and that was most recent game in Neyland between Oklahoma and Tennessee. Baker Mayfield came out of with a winner, I believe, it was 2017,
What's that?
and
6, 7, 8 years ago, then at least, right?
yes,
How
sir,
long? Yeah. Okay.
yes, sir.
Very cool. All right. Very special time. They're different color crimson, but not SC and not Alabama, but a different color there. And we'll see how that one turns out. All right. Next game, we're going to look at Miami Hurricanes at 6-1, 2-1. They're only lost, to Louisville. And they go with Carson Beck, 73% right there. 1,600 yards, 8.3 yards per completion, 12 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, only sacked 4 times. I think they walk out of Dallas with a win here. They have Syracuse, North Carolina State, Virginia Tech, and Pitt left on their schedule. I think it's fairly friendly. So this is another one of those games that you're thinking, all right, to get your work done, Hurricanes, and put yourself one step closer to getting the ACC championship.
I think the eyes are on you. I think you need to hold up, my friend, saying they're gonna walk out of there with a win. Not so quick. Carson Beck, well, game against Louisville 2 weeks ago, threw 4 picks. That really opened my eyes to saying, okay, maybe we've been a little bit too high on this kid. Is he going back to the days when he was at Georgia last year? And one thing, when you look at Miami, think about after the Notre Dame game and think about when they went into Florida State. There was so many University of Miami alumni was on the screen doing this, hot dogging it. The U is back. I'm sorry, Michael Irvin, you was out there quack pumping your brakes too. But when they lost to Louisville, what was your first thinking, Harper? This is the same Miami team under Mario Cristobal. And to be honest, I'm not a fan of his. I'm not trying to get no views tonight, but I thought he had a lot of talent at Oregon, and he never won the big game in Oregon.
Okay.
So this football game right here is the U all the way back. And they're going against a SMU team that's 5-3 and it's got a very good gentleman at quarterback, Kevin Jennings. What he got, Harper? I'm gonna let you give the stats. But this kid can make things happen. And they got a very good player at the tight end position who a lot of people they contacted me from Louisiana today to make sure that I mention the young man at the tight end position. His name is R.J. Maryland. I think he got 17 receptions, 167 yards, 2 touchdowns, and his father should know about winning. Actually, his father played at the U and won 3 Super Bowls with the Dallas Cowboys, Russell, Maryland. So
Mhm.
the people from Louisiana wanted me to make sure I brought that on our show today. But to me, back to University of Miami, let's see, are you the U? Because think about last year when they had Cam Ward, they was in the same situation. What did they do? They went up to Syracuse and laid an egg. Mario Cristobal to me is one of these coaches. You're on the clock, man, because you haven't won a big football game. Neither you was at Oregon, you never won a big football game, and at Miami, you dropped the game against Louisville against a pretty good coach, Jeff Brum, who outcoached you that night 2 weeks ago. Back to you, Hart.
You mentioned Carson Beck and his numbers, and Kevin Jennings, the SMU quarterback. Before I get to Jennings' numbers, let me look at this for you real quick. SMU's defense this year. Remember what I said about 29, 27 sacks, respectively, for Oklahoma
Mm-hmm.
and for Tennessee? SMU has 25.
Mm-hmm.
They have 12 interceptions this year and 8 fumbles. They have 20 turnovers defensively. That's a number that sticks out. I don't care who you are, where you're playing, high school, whatever. You're 8 games into your season, you got 20 turnovers. That's got to be somewhere near the top of anybody's NCAA numbers. That to me, and then you mentioned the 4 turnovers in that game that Carson Beck threw just a couple weeks ago. Jennings is 66 is the number for his completion percentage. 2,100 yards, 17 touchdowns, 8 picks, and he's been sacked 13 times. So it's not perfect for him, but it's very impressive. They have 12 rushing touchdowns, 17, so 39 touchdowns, on the year. And that's up there with some of the best. So I think there's some residual from last year's guys that came back and go, you know what, we're a better team we're a better team than our 5-3 record, and we're going to show it. So even though I think Miami just needs to do their business, that's going to include playing a great game, not just a good game.
Let me ask you this, Hart. If Miami loses game on Saturday, from your personal opinion perspective, how you gonna look at the University of Miami this year? If they're going to Dallas on Saturday at 12 noon and lose that football game against SMU?
They still have Syracuse, North Carolina State, Virginia Tech, and Pitt, as I mentioned. I'm thinking pretender.
Thank you. You answered the question.
That's what I'm thinking. It's not over. They can go 10-2, and that's respectable. But when you compare apples to apples and who they lost to, it's not the same as playing Texas, South Carolina, Ole Miss, Tennessee,
Thank
Alabama,
you.
Missouri, like what Oklahoma's had to do. It's a little bit different. When you got North Carolina State and Virginia Tech on your schedule, especially this year. So be interesting how that turns out. Anything else before we move on?
Big game, man. Coaching game for Mario Cristobal. I want to see where Miami is at. They can very easily lose this football game on Saturday in Dallas.
Yeah. Yeah. And if they win it, people will be saying, Harper and Vincent, just shut up. Just shut up. We were fine. You were worried about all kinds of nothing. But no, the stats and the defensive turnovers from SMU, those are impressive. Very good numbers. All right, let's look at the last game that we're going to touch upon. This is a noon game on Saturday, right? So wake up early. There's a couple of really good ones out there, and I think this is going to be one of them. I will apologize to Vanderbilt Commodore fans, all 25,000 of you. I will say I thought there was a possibility after going 5-0 with a relatively easy schedule. Once you start going SEC week after week after week, you could be a 5-5 team and look into the last week or two to just to be eligible for a bowl. I've been wrong, and I've been corrected. I'll tell you what, it's 7-1 and 3-1 right now. Number 9 in the country, Diego Pavia. His numbers are fantastic. I think his leadership ability is even better. I don't care what his numbers are. Everyone on that team plays a little bit better because that guy, he's the Baker Mayfield of the NFL in the college rankings for Vanderbilt. Maybe not for another school. I'm just saying right now for Vanderbilt, you got a guy that's tough. He's hungry. He wants to be impressive, and he's doing all of the above. And he's got a team 7-1. Who would have thought that Vanderbilt would be in the top 10?
I got to give love and respect to a gentleman from my hometown who was Player of the Year in 1978 when I came out of high school. He still, I believe, is the only player in the high school ranks out of Memphis, Tennessee that won Player of the Year in baseball, basketball, and football. Mr. Raymond Buggs, a Vanderbilt graduate. He was a two-time All-SEC receiver in 1980 and 81. Kudos to the Commodores. Because I'm not used to this. I'm not used to seeing Vandy being ranked this high. But like you said, Harper, I thought along with you, I thought it was fool's gold. I'm going to be honest with you, but Diego said he should. If Vanderbilt runs the table, he should have a seat at the Heisman up there in New York. And you know what? I kind of got to agree with him. He's a guy, he's not going to throw for a lot of yards. He's not going to rush for a lot of yards. But you know what? You said it right, Harper LeBel. He wills his team to victories. He makes the big plays when you need to make them. And something Diego said, I'm gonna call him Mr. Diego. He said that at the SEC Media Day, the ultimate goal at Vanderbilt this year was to win the conference and play in the college football playoffs. Paul Feinbaum, I'm gonna put you on the spot here, brother. You came out and ripped that young man. And I got to tell you, man, out of all the football teams I'm impressed with, I got to be impressed with the Vanderbilt Commodores. I didn't see no number 9 ranking. And they have beaten some good teams. They beat LSU at the line of scrimmage. They beat Missouri in a real hard football game. And I'm going to tell you this. People don't understand this. Against Alabama, they lost the game 30-16. But Diego had 2 red zone turnovers in that football game. And they got a pretty good running back in Cedric Alexander, and they got NFL tight end in Eli Stolters.
Stowers, yeah.
Yes,
Yep.
that was. But one thing you brought to my attention, Hop, you said they had 10 grad transfers. See, I didn't know that. This is a real dangerous football team that not only can win the SEC, but I wouldn't want to play him in the college football playoffs with that young man under the center. I'm going to be honest with you. Back to you, Hop.
They remind me of the basketball analogy where you've got a one and done squad from Kentucky or Louisville or name the school, Michigan State, you know what I'm saying. They remind me of the Wichita States, the Princeton team, the Valparaiso team that has a bunch of seniors that have played together for a while, and they end up going to the Elite Eight. And nobody expected anything out of them, but they just played well at the right time. And I think that the older, more mature player who's 20, 21, 23 years old, maybe, or older, who comes in there and says, listen, I'm going to get my degree. I've already got it, but I'm going to work on my graduate degree. I'm going to get my master's at a school like Vanderbilt. What's that going to be worth for you in the long run? Millions, hopefully. But I'm going to play hard, and I'm going to be a part of this little system. And who knows if this is just magic in a bottle that they have for just a year or two, or if Leah has done something great there from the coaching perspective and really turned the desire for a kid to want to go to a place like Nashville and play. But let's look at the other side. We haven't talked anything about Texas. Is Arch Manning the leader like Diego Pavia is? 60%, 60.9, 7.6 yards. He has 15 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. He's been sacked 18 times. Is there time left for Arch and the Longhorn offense to kind of turn things around before it's too late? And they have to go to the Citrus Bowl or maybe the Independence Bowl? What do you think?
Okay, my first thing is I heard Arch today. He was still in concussion protocol, so it's going to be a game time decision. He's going to play on Saturday. The young man that came off the bench last week, Matthew Caldwell, I think threw a touchdown in overtime. But I think a lot with Arch is that you got to go back to coaching, man. Everybody wants to put a lot on him, but Steve Sarkisian, he's a guy I haven't really been impressed with. I'm be honest with you. And Texas has gotten lucky. They got 9 lives. They should have really lost that game in Kentucky 2 weeks ago. And then last Saturday, I rushed to get to the my favorite place, Buffalo Wild Wings in Douglasville, to see the end of this game because I was seeing the score on my phone. They were down 38-21 in the fourth quarter. And
Yeah,
should have lost that football game. So they still in the mix. They got Vanderbilt. But Sarkisian, let's start with the man at top. He has not been impressive, man. And Texas came in, I believe, and a right correct Harp preseason number 1, right? So
yep. They
we
went
could
to Ohio and that changed.
okay, but we could put a lot on Arch, but ain't Sarkisian supposed to be an offensive guru? He was once the offensive coordinator for the Atlanta Falcons, correct?
Yep,
Okay. So I'm looking at this. This is a game. Again, it's a coaching game to me. You got Clark Lee that's got his team playing at a level with a quarterback that a lot of people love across this country. That's a winner. He's proven it on the field, and you got one quarterback that hasn't lived up to expectations. Well, now we don't even know he's going to play on Saturday.
yep,
But Texas hasn't had that game when everybody is saying, "Oh, okay, this is Texas." Now they beat Oklahoma, but John McTeer was injured that game.
yep.
So now And Texas still has a lot to play for because they're going to come to Athens next weekend and still be in the mix for the college football playoffs and be in the mix of playing an SC championship game. But, man, I got to be honest with you. It's all on Sarkisian, man, because Texas has a lot of talent. Anthony Hill last week might be one of the best defensive players in the country. He had a hell of a football game. Linebacker had, 3.5 sacks, 3 tackles for loss. I think he had a forced fumble. He was the difference in the fourth quarter for Texas winning that football game because Blake Shapen and Mississippi State was having their way. But as I'm going to say this, I think the tick is clocking on Texas. I think Texas need this football game because if Sarkisian loses this football game, Hop, how you and the nation going to feel about Texas, a school that got so much NIL money? You know they say the money is richer than any state in Texas, right? Explain that to me if they lose to Vanderbilt on Saturday.
Here's my thought with Texas. First of all, they're a 7-5 schedule this year. 7 home games, 5 road games.
Thank you.
The home game for them against Vandy. And if they lose this and then have to go to Georgia, they play Pig Suey, and then they've got the Gigamags to finish. And Gigamags are number 3 in the country. Georgia's number 5. They got 3 of the last 4 games against top 10 teams. And if they win all of them, they've got my respect because they'll be 10-2. And if they lose all of them, even Pig Suey, Steve Sarkisian might be looking for a job in LSU or someplace. They won't stand for it, right? But the number 1 player in the draft that everybody was going to say the Manning Bowl will happen because we're playing against Ohio State in the first game of the year. That's not going to happen either. So a lot riding on the line for Longhorns. Go ahead.
My question is this. Texas, and you brought up a good point. You brought up they got a schedule. The schedule, again, was tailor-made for Texas. And really, to be honest, Texas has not played good football. They really didn't play good offensively against Oklahoma. Their defense had played well in that football game. To me, Texas has been the most underachieving team in the country. I'm just going to put it out there. Preseason number 1. Everybody's saying you had a generational player. And you go out and use Ohio State 14-7. I was still on the bandwagon. But you came back and you got dominated by Florida, man. Dominated by Florida. And then that's what kills me. Kentucky had a chance to beat you in overtime. Kentucky had the ball on your 2-yard line and couldn't score in 4 downs in overtime. And you only had, 125 yards, some crazy number, total offense that game. And then last week you got down to Mississippi State by 17 points. You got 9 lives like a cat. But this week, you got a quarterback that's coming in that's pretty good, and you got a team that's got a really good football coach in Clark Lee. And I'm going to leave it at that. Back to you, Hart.
28 sacks by the Longhorns defensively. 9 turnovers in the air, interceptions, 5 fumble recoveries. So I've talked about SMU. I've talked about a couple other schools. I've talked about Oklahoma and Tennessee and their defenses. Texas defense has kept them in a lot of ball games. Their offenses kind of struggled, but they're still 6-2. So 7-1 Vanderbilt going against 6-2 Texas. It's going to be a very interesting ball game at noon. As I mentioned, this is an ABC game, right? At 12 noon at ABC. So I'll have to look at this one. This will be one of those ones where I'm gonna what's going on here? This one has some significance, right? And this could be your elimination game. I think if Andy loses with the schedule that they have remaining, it's not going to hurt them as much. But they got to get in the SEC championship, where they're looking at the Shreveport Bowl and the Outback Bowl. But Texas, if they lose, they're done. You know that, right? They're done at 6-3.
Yes, sir. And what I be doing, Texas pays a lot of money to their program, man. Texas has all the resources to get all the players in the state of Texas. And to be honest, Steve Sarkisian has underperformed this year. That's plain and simple. I don't mean to try to be a guy that's trying to get clicks or views, but let's tell it like it is.
Yeah, Steve, I just told you what the defense has done. Is it Steve or is it Arch?
I would say Steve Sarkisian with the offense.
Okay.
And Arch. And I'm gonna watch my words closer with Arch Manning because his people are from the state of Mississippi, and I don't want nobody hitting the show. So you got to watch how you handle the Mannings because you can't say nothing bad.
I'm not saying anything bad. If the guy
No,
is
I'm talking about me though. I'm talking about
no,
me. Yeah.
I'm just saying there sometimes the truth hurts, and we're just saying as Arch underperformed this year. I mean, when he was throwing like Fran Tarkenton or Patrick Mahomes in Week 1 against Ohio State, yes, I think even Cooper was saying, well, "What's he doing? We've never ever practiced throwing like that. We've never done that, kid. Just find your rhythm, get the ball out. We'll take a 3rd and 3. Just play better. That's all I'm saying." Play better. Everyone. Tom Brady will say every week, "I need to play better." I'm not criticizing him, but I can look at it and make an assessment. That's different. There's a different type of judgment. I'll explain it to somebody. If you're going to buy a house, there's one thing to go, that house is terrible and nobody should ever buy it because it's haunted. Okay, that's a judgment that is it doesn't deserve anybody's respect. And someone else might say, if you fix the baseboards and clean the carpets, put new paint on the walls, if you get a gardener to come out and mow the lawn and trim those hedges, that house is worth about $250,000. That's an assessment as well. It's a different type of judgment. So that's all we're doing. All right. I wish Oklahoma, I wish Tennessee, I wish Texas, I wish Vanderbilt all the best, but only one team is going to end up winning, and we're just giving our assessment on that. All right, Vincent, that's a look at the 7 games that we have here. What else from Week 10 would be of importance to you before we head out?
Oh, before I leave today, there's some people in my hometown from the 901. They wanted me to do two things before we leave today.
What's that?
Dun, 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 dun. That's the University of Memphis fight song. And my uncle, Mr. Opie Turner, told me specifically to you,
Really?
Mr. LeBel,
What? Okay.
stop calling the University of Memphis Kitty Cats. Because they the best Power 4 team right now, Power 5 team. And they got the best offensive line in the country. And please put some respect on Brendan Lewis' name, the
Okay.
starting quarterback at the University of Memphis.
Let's talk about the American Conference right now. The Memphis Tigers are the only members of that conference that are ranked nationally right now, 7-1. Congratulations, go Tigers. However, Navy midshipmen, they're undefeated right now. They're 7-0. They're 5-0 in the conference. The Green Wave in Tulane, they're 6-1, but they're 3-0. They're undefeated in the conference. Then come the Kitty Cats. The Tigers are 3-1. The Bulls are 3-1. North Texas, Mean Green, they're 3-1. Temple is 3-1. Of those, I think South Florida 6-2 overall. Who'd they lose to? Who'd Memphis lose to? South Florida. Who'd they lose to?
UAB.
UAB. Sorry about that. UAB's down at 1-3. They're only in conference one right now, and they're 3-4. They lost their coach. There are a lot of guys that are losing their coaches, guys. I'm telling you, there are a lot of teams. But congratulations, Memphis. You're in the top 25. And Uncle Opie, I respect your Tigers. I really do. But there are times where the Georgia State Kitty Cats would play against the Memphis Kitty Cats, and your Kitty Cats are better than mine. So you're Tigers and we're Panthers, and it's okay. But play well, and we'll talk about you. Don't get another loss, Memphis, please. Don't, no more losses, and you might get a chance to be in the playoff. At what would you be, 11-1? Wouldn't that be cool?
Yes, sir. Yes,
All right.
sir. And that's what I'm in my show today on. Dun, 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 dun.
What's your
Dun,
Tigers'
dun,
name?
dun, 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 dun,
What's
dun,
your Tiger's name?
dun.
What's your Tiger's name?
Tiger Tom.
Tiger Tom. All right.
Yes, sir.
I remember him coming out this big old Ford F-350,
Yeah, yeah.
is in blue, right? In Memphis blue, hauling this big old cage with this cat in it. Oh my gosh, that was very impressive. Now, Mike the Tiger at LSU, probably a little bit older, more mature. He doesn't get in the back of anybody's truck. He just hangs out in front of the visitor locker room. And he just growls. I love it.
Yes, sir.
College
Yes,
football,
sir.
ladies and gentlemen. All right, that's our take. Week 10 of the NCAA football schedule is going to be this weekend. It starts, well, actually, there's games starting Thursday. We hope you enjoy as much as we do talking about the games getting a chance to look at some of the big teams, big games that are being scheduled this week. We looked at 7 of them this week, so we hope that you enjoyed it. For Vincent Turner, I'm Harper LeBel. We want to thank you for tuning in. Folks, have a fantastic rest of